But we'll get into all the details. There's a lot to go through. I got 2:30 on my clock, so we're going to kind of start working through this. I appreciate everyone tuning in today. I know we got a football game here now we all want to watch, but hopefully we can get through this in time for that. Just a brief overview. We're still looking at a winter storm across much of the eastern and southern parts of Texas, so really late Monday and through Tuesday. There's going to be a pretty good area of snow and ice. Where that's, the axis of the heavier snow is going to set up is still a little bit to be determined. We're still 3 days out, but really it's going to start here in parts of eastern Texas. It's going to extend all the way across the deep south over the next few days. So pretty impactful winter storm coming. We're still looking at snow and ice. It's pretty likely at this point across nearly all of southeast Texas. How much falls, where it falls, anything, the details. I know we'd like to pin that down, but we're just not quite there yet. But we should all be making preparations for snow and ice. We do have a winter storm watch now. We just issued that about an hour ago. That's going to start at 6 p.m. on Monday and continue to 6 p.m. on Tuesday. As we've been talking about, it's going to be a cold week. We're going to have temps below freezing for maybe 4 nights in a row and a hard freeze for pretty much the whole area Tuesday night into Wednesday. So this is the time to be wrapping it up. When I get off this call, I'm going to go protect my own plants at home here this evening and get out ahead of that as well. Tomorrow's going to still be a possibility. We're going to be above freezing most of the day tomorrow, but it's going to be about 20 degrees cooler than today with a north wind. So today's going to be a much more pleasant day to get out and take care of that than tomorrow. So as of noon today, the front was just pushing off the coast there. There's a number of kind of surges that we'll be dealing with. The main front you can kind of see here, but right behind the front with the sunshine and the initial cold air lagging, we didn't notice too big of a temperature drop as it moved through. But you look back up here towards Oklahoma City, it's below freezing now, northern Oklahoma in the 20s. So it's coming. Really tomorrow, like I said, it'll be about 20 degrees colder. And then as we get into the day on Monday, we're going to be quite a bit colder than that, and it's just going to kind of stay down there for the next several days, really into at least through the middle of the late part of next week. So just real quick, going to kind of run through the different models. You hear a lot about the GFS, which is the American model, and the European model. Those are our kind of two biggest models or global models, and we're still far enough out that we really can't run any high resolution modeling just yet. So this is kind of what we're kind of dealing with. And the GFS has still been a bit warmer than the European. The European's been colder than the GFS throughout really this week for this event. The GFS tends to be trending that way, but they're still a little bit different, especially with how that cold air impacts things. So you can see at midnight, Monday night to Tuesday, both models really start bringing in some sort of wintry precipitation. The Europeans more aggressive with kind of a cold rain initially. I think that's going to end up being a wintry mix to start with if the European's right. I doubt we're going to get rain that far north on Monday night around midnight. GFS is still lags a bit. By daybreak on Tuesday, you can see the GFS now has pushed more of the heavy snow farther north, and then we get the wintry mix of ice, sleet, freezing rain and sleet across a big chunk of southeast Texas, while the European has that deeper, colder air farther south down really across Houston and into most of our counties there, and then the southwest areas into ice. If I had to just place my bets, I would lean more towards the European, but we'll have to wait and see. I do think with this cold air that perhaps we're going to end up closer to that solution, but again, we'll have to wait and see. The forecasts as we have now are kind of hedging the bets between the two right now. So we get into noon on Tuesday. We're really in the thick of it. So really all Tuesday morning, it's going to be a mess. If you believe the GFF, if it's perfect, we've got ice, sleet, and snow, and just a wintry mix across a big chunk of the area. The European a little bit faster and bringing that snow starts tapering it off as we get into the afternoon, and by 6 p.m. the European has everything kind of clearing out, skies clearing, while the GFS is a little slower with that ice and snow lingering into Tuesday evening. So still quite a bit to play out here as we get through the next few days, trying to pin this down. So we've been showing this all week, the chances to see at least 1 inch of snow. These numbers have been slowly increasing if you go back and look each day. I think that trend may continue, especially if the national blend of models in the GFS, that has a big part of that, starts getting into that colder and colder and starts catching up to the European. We may see a lot of these numbers start increasing, but we're still about a 50-50 or better chance of seeing 1 inch of snow across a big chunk of the area, even down towards Lake Jackson and into Wharton. You know, you're better than a 1 in 4 chance of seeing at least 1 inch of snow with this event. So I think we're gonna it's gonna be a white Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning, most likely, with snow and ice on the ground. Probably not, you know, what does melt is going to freeze pretty quickly. So it's going to be a very messy travel stretch there. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. I showed this yesterday. I debated showing this because I really don't like to pin things into what I call a deterministic realm right now. There's still a lot to play out, but this is what the NBM shows. Is it's most likely. It's similar to yesterday, the 1 to 2 inches across a big chunk of the area. And then that heavier band, where really the models are showing that up, really from the Woodlands, Madisonville, extending up across East Central Texas, across a big chunk of Louisiana, where the heavier snow will really get going after it leaves Texas. But so we're, you know, still very similar here. This does not bring into effect bands or anything. Typically with these events, it's not like we get this really even snowfall that's going to be the same. We typically set up bands of heavier snow. So this was probably a good average, what most people could expect. But I do believe we will see heavier totals as we get into through this event. This is a realistic worst case. So the NBM kind of 90th percentile. So this is you know, 1 in 10 of the models that go into this blend of models was showing amounts of this high or higher. So we kind of show some of this with heavy rainfall, and we start talking about maximums. You know, don't focus too much on where that maximum is. It just kind of shows what the atmosphere is capable of. So, you know, we could see some, you know, 7 to 9 inch type of totals somewhere in the area before this is all said and done. We'll just, again, have to kind of wait and see. You may see some images, you know, the GFS and the Euro, they do produce snowfall totals. I didn't want to share that because it's that deterministic model, and it'll show a little bit of a band, but it's showing higher totals than even this in some of their bands. But we just, you know, I wouldn't really want to bet where those bands are going to set up at this point. But certainly 1 to 2 inches is a pretty good bet for most people. And then, you know, upwards of 4 or 5, maybe even 6, you know, for a few locations as well, is in play. So again, we're just going to have to watch that. We really hope to have more information tomorrow and again on Monday as we start getting some what we call convective allowing models, but really higher resolution models that will really start showing where some of those bands could set up and have a little bit more confidence on that. Freezing rain, I'm going to show some images on that. You know, still greater than 50-50, and especially anyone coming on, you know, from San Antonio area southwest and much higher to see at least 100th inch of freezing rain. So that's really light. But as we saw last year, you know, in Katy and parts of 59 down through Fort Bend County, you know, it doesn't take much, just a few hundredths when you're really cold to cause a lot of problems, travel problems. So we did want to show what the 100th kind of chances of seeing at least 100th of an inch. So that's what we call measurable freezing rain. Very similar to what we saw yesterday, still fairly high values, especially in the areas to the kind of from downtown Houston southwestward. So we look at those same kind of chances, but looking at the chance of maybe more impactful freezing rain. So maybe an 8 to 10th inches or more, where you could start having impacts with some power infrastructure, some lines, and certainly on roads. it's about a 1 in 4 chance across the, from Lake Jackson, Wharton. You can see values up there. That's going to be representative of that whole kind of stretch southwest of the metropolitan area, and it kind of gets into that area south of I-10 as well, even to into the Houston area, where we're still about a 1 in 4 chance of seeing about a 1/10 inches or more of freezing rain. Some of this again might be going back to which model is right. The GFS was a little warmer, keeping that icy conditions more into Tuesday, while the Euro went more with snow. Again, it's going to be a tough thing, but this is things that we need to be thinking about and planning for as we move through. And I see some questions coming in. I will get to those, I promise. I'm going to go ahead and kind of work our way through, and then I'll come back to some of those. So this is a worst case scenario. So this is, again, looking at that 90th percentile of the NBM, kind of how, what if it does go to all ice, for instance, or mostly ice, what would that look like? This is kind of what that would look like. You can see that would have a much bigger impact. I don't think that this is going to be how this plays out, but it's something we have to at least consider if the GFS is right, and if we hold on to sleet and freezing rain a bit longer on Tuesday, Monday night into Tuesday, than the European is showing. So all that being said, you can see why we went ahead and just proactively put the winter storm watch out this afternoon. It's going to start at 6 p.m. on Monday and run through 6 p.m. on Tuesday, when most of the models start bringing or lifting that wintry precipitation away from our area. We do think that we're going to have some areas of heavier precipitation and kind of be mixed. Total still accumulations, as we talked about. Right now, we're saying up to 3, could be a bit higher with the bands, and ice generally a 1/10 of an inch or less, but still something that we're going to have to watch. So impacts, you can imagine, it's going to be roads. I think it's going to be our biggest problem. Travel is going to be a serious problem for a big chunk of the area. Very slippery conditions, and travel is really not going to be recommended from Monday evening, really, and well into Wednesday. We'll get into that a little bit as well. So that being said, looking at the low temperatures, so this is going to be Sunday night into Monday morning. Temperatures on the left and wind chills on the right. It's cold, so we're going to look at 22 at Crockett, 21 at Madisonville, so almost a hard freeze type of conditions getting up there, really on the northern part of the area. Monday morning with a bit of wind there, it's going to be cold. Certainly wind chills in the teens for a big chunk of the area through most of the night and into throughout the morning hours. And then Tuesday morning, so remember the snow and ice starts midnight, Monday night, Tuesday morning. So these are kind of temperatures we'll be looking at with that falling. So we're looking at 28 degrees. So if anything were to melt on the roads, especially initially, it's going to freeze relatively quickly. So we could, even if we start with any sort of freezing rain or snow, we get some snow melt, it's going to melt and freeze really quickly, and then we could pile up snow on top of that. So going to be a real problem on area roads. But then, and you look at the wind chills, really the low to mid-teens for the whole area Tuesday morning. So really brutal cold, snow falling, maybe freezing rain, wintry mix for a big chunk of the area, if not the whole area, on Tuesday. So because of that, Tuesday's high temperatures will be hard pressed to touch freezing. Even if we touch freezing, it won't be for very long. So maybe down near the coast might do a bit better on temperatures on Tuesday, with the warmer water helping get some temps above freezing and maybe helping melt what does fall throughout the morning. But even those might be a little bit too high, depending on where that snow falls and what that precipitation area is going to look like. So things clear out through the night. Clouds will clear out Tuesday night, and without that cloud blanket, we're going to radiate really a lot. I mean, we got temperatures really cold as we get snow on the ground and we get clear skies. We're going to have a hard freeze, maybe all the way down to the island, all the way down to the coast areas, even the barrier islands. 11 at Crockett, 11 at Madisonville, so bitter cold. Those aren't wind chills. These are actual air temperatures. These are colder than we've seen the last few days. 18 at Sugarland, so teens down to Angleton, Wharton, Bay City. So very, very cold temperatures. This is going to be the night or morning where we're going to be worry quite a bit about the pipes and different infrastructures of that. So we really want to get things insulated to prevent stuff, because there's not going to be a lot of travel probably Wednesday morning either, particularly if areas do get quite a bit of snow. It's still going to probably be on the ground. It's still going to be quite icy for most of the roads into Wednesday afternoon. So Wednesday afternoon, with that sun shining, it will help. So we will see quite a bit of melting going on as we get up into maybe the mid to upper 30s for a big chunk of the area on Wednesday. However, we've got another freeze coming in on Wednesday night and Thursday morning. So what does melt could refreeze again as we get into Thursday morning as well. So we've really got 3 mornings in a row where we might be dealing with some slick bridges and some slippery roads until we kind of get into Thursday and to Friday. We finally kind of maybe melt off and get rid of everything. So I'm just going to go through the forecast points as we've been doing. This is a deterministic. This is an actual single run, so it's not showing the probabilities or possibilities, just kind of showing what the forecast looks like for now. And you can see that for both Conroe and Houston on Tuesday, if you get freezing, it's not for very long. So, we get below freezing around midnight, perhaps on Monday night, and we may not get above freezing until maybe lunchtime or so on Wednesday. And this is the stretch here starting Monday night where we start getting the precipitation and the snow. So what falls here will likely stay around with us well into Wednesday. And again, we touch freezing again as we get into Thursday. So whatever melts and maybe refreezes. And then as we get into Thursday afternoon and into Friday and into next week, and we finally start pulling out of this. Same thing for down towards Wharton. I just wanted to show something down in the southwest part of the area, very similar plot there. This is showing them hitting 33 degrees on Tuesday. That's, and not for very long. So we're not going to look at a lot of melting there. If anything is still on the ground in our southwest counties, and you can see that at the bottom of that, they're showing a little bit of ice for them. And then Galveston, very cold. So still highs on Tuesday of 37, and we certainly get those cycles there in that Wednesday morning. Again, even for the island, down below 30 and up in the upper 20s. So quite cold as we move through it. This messaging, I appreciate. I know a lot of partners are pushing this out. We need to really get that message out. Today's really the last kind of good day, so to speak, to get this stuff taken care of and then have plans for things. But the 4 Ps, we're going to keep pushing that messaging. And then the additional message is probably just stay off the roads on Monday, starting Monday night and really into Wednesday afternoon. Talk a little bit about the marine hazards. We are still looking at small craft advisories, but we've got quite a bit of wind behind this surge of front. So looking at gale warnings and watch as possible as over the next couple of days for Monday into Tuesday night. Very unpleasant night there for our marine partners and for the ship channels and ports. So certainly any sort of recreational mariner will just want to stay away from any of this. It's going to be a big problem. So some of the key takeaways, and then I'll get to some of these questions that are coming in. We do have a winter storm coming. It's been well advertised. We've been talking about this since at least midweek. The winter storm watch from 6 on Monday to 6 on Tuesday. That's the time frame where we expect the highest impacts as far as falling snow and ice, lingering snow and ice. Going to go well beyond that. 1 to 3 inches of snow is a fair bet for a big chunk of the area, particularly around the metro and areas north to the southwest down 59 and down towards Matagorda Bay. Less snow, but a better chance of freezing rain, where we could see still get some ice down in those areas down 69 and 59. Minimum temperatures near below freezing pretty much every night into Thursday. Some areas may not get above freezing at all on Tuesday. Hard freeze, as we talked about, that really that Wednesday morning daybreak is going to be the coldest temperatures of this event, with a lot of people well into the teens. So as I've been messaging, we're going to keep pushing for people to plan on staying where they're at Monday evening until at least noon on Wednesday. May even get into Thursday for some folks. That's similar to what we talked about yesterday. Protective actions, again, this is a good day to wrap it. I personally need to go do mine. I'm going to finish that up when I'm done with this call. And I know everyone wants details. We want to pin out where that snow is going to be. It's still not available yet. We still don't have anything really more than, kind of like that GFS and Euro, which are giving slightly different solutions. So we're kind of using the blend of the models, these ensembles, to kind of frame a message. But that's still enough for y'all as far as planning goes, hopefully, that we can try to stay out ahead of this. So I didn't update this slide. The next briefing is going to be Sunday. So we're going to have another 2:30 call tomorrow. Lance will be driving that one. And then we'll do another one on Monday as well as we get into this event. So that's what I had on the slide.